Hello, wrestling fans.
Are you ready? Let me tell you something, brother. British Wrestling's very own Steve Saxon presents the iSax Wrestling Podcast. It's just one more platform for him to get his shit in.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to episode 7 of the iSax Wrestling Podcast. As always, I'm Steve Saxon. Now, this one has been slightly delayed. I seem to be saying that on every episode. Weekly episodes, bi-weekly episodes, whatever. I get them out as quickly as I possibly can. This one was edited last week, although I was supposed to originally do this podcast, this interview, probably about a month ago. But for some reason or the other, I missed the interview, he missed me, and then it just didn't happen. But we hooked up last week, we agreed to get this shit done. So today I'm going to be talking to the king of the streets, the ever-controversial Ruffneck, a.k.a. Keith Caldwell. Now, Keith and I, we've known each other for a few years. He's done a bit of business with me over at Britannia Wrestling Promotions, even as of recently as January, I think it was, last time he worked for BWP over in Liverpool. Keith is an outspoken guy. He is, I suppose, very controversial. He doesn't really give a fuck, which can sometimes be good and can sometimes be bad. There's quite a lot's happened in Keith's life over the last few years, particularly in the wrestling business and obviously his personal life as well, which he does go on to discuss in the interview. So I got halfway through editing this. We talked for probably about an hour or so. I got partway through editing it. I was almost done. I'd done my intros, my outros. I'd put the sponsors in there as well. There wasn't a lot of actual editing to do on the interview with Keith himself. It flowed pretty smoothly, to be honest with you. And then Keith dropped me a line and asked me to postpone it, to basically pull it. It was ready to go up a few days ago. I didn't question him why, because I kind of knew why. And Keith was laying low for a little bit, for whatever reason. I didn't ask questions. I thought I didn't really need to. So I respected his wishes, and I put it out there on my Facebook account and on the Twitter account that this one would be postponed, and a few people were a little bit disappointed. So I kind of pushed him a little bit, and he said, well, you know what, just get it out there, it doesn't matter, whatever. So thank you very much, Keith, for allowing the listeners to actually have the opportunity to listen to this interview with you today. But before we go on to that, I want to quickly mention my sponsor. Check this out.
Into professional wrestling? Of course you are. You're listening to the iSax Wrestling Podcast. Why not turn your passion into profit at wrestling betting? Body slam the bookmakers with the longest running WWE betting tips and predictions site. We cover all bookmakers before each WWE pay-per-view to get the best odds and accumulators, so you don't have to. Sign up for free at wrestlingbetting.co.uk/iSax to get the latest predictions delivered straight to your inbox. That's wrestlingbetting.co.uk/iSax. Check us out today.
So it's Friday the 26th of May. It's Bank Holiday weekend here in the UK. The sun is absolutely blazing at the moment, something like 26, 27 degrees, which for the UK is absolutely unusual, and it probably won't last that long, so we are making the most of it over here. Me personally, I got the weekend free. Pretty much, obviously, I've got a huge show this weekend. Let's not forget about that. I've got a huge show on Bank Holiday Sunday at Prestatyn in Frith Park. Our homecoming show after 2 years away. We're back in Prestatyn to a sold-out show. Hey, something else I did this week. I was on Tudno FM, which is a FM radio station in North Wales. I've got Conway, I think Denbighshire as well. I was on there with Jeff Abbott, the presenter, and it was just kind of like film hour or a couple of hours. So I went on there and discussed a couple of my favourite films, booked the Prestatyn show for this Sunday, a bit of a chat, a bit of banter. Really enjoyed it, and it got me thinking a little bit about maybe I could do this. Tudno FM is a community station, so it depends on volunteer presenters. So I came back home. I had to go all the way over to Llandudno. I live just outside of Chester, so it's a bit of a trek. And if you're going to commit to something like that, you've got to be fairly local. So that just would not be possible to do on Tudno FM. So I'd look at a couple of the local community radio stations, Flintshire and Wrexham and Chester. There's quite a few out there. So I've dropped a few emails. Hopefully some of them will get back to me. Hopefully some of them will give me a bit of an opportunity. I'd quite enjoy doing that. I think like a weekly hour or a couple hour session or whatever it may be. I think I would actually enjoy that side of it. I really got into this podcasting malarkey. It went from being like monthly to bi-weekly to weekly to whenever I possibly can. Once or twice a week, once or twice a fortnight, whatever it may be. I do enjoy getting them out there. So yeah, Pretty busy, really enjoying life at the moment. Today actually marks the 2-year anniversary, what you call it? It's 2 years today, May 26th. In 2 years' time, probably approximately around about this time, I'm going to be walking down the aisle, and I'm going to be getting married, which is quite funny, really. Funny story. The last ever Frith show, Frith Beach Arena show in Prestine, was just over 2 years ago. I think it was the 5th of April 2015. And there was a promo at the beginning of that show between myself, the then Commissioner Angel D'Souza, the then Head of Talent Relations Michael Holland, who you know from this podcast, of course. And we cut a promo. Mike and Angel were both engaged to be married. Angel's stag do was scheduled to be like a month after the show, after that promo. And Mike's stag do was going to be 12 months. Pretty much to the day away. So I referenced that as well, and I remember saying to Angel, this time next month, Angel, it's your stag do. And this time next year, Mike, it's going to be your stag do. And this time in 2 years' time, it is definitely not going to be my stag do. And got a bit of a pop, and at the time I was deadly serious. I don't mind saying this, Natalie knows exactly how I felt back then towards getting married. And how ironic that 2 years later, when we make our return to Prestine Frith Beach Arena, Prestine Frith Park, that I am actually now planning my stag do. So there you go. Right, let's crack on with this. Now, bear in mind, there's quite a lot of bad language, as always. A little bit of a few stories. Keith gets a lot off his chest regarding a few different matters. But yeah, have a listen to this. It's quite interesting. It goes on about an hour or so, and I will catch you at the end of the podcast. Enjoy.
Professional wrestling personalities with no filter in sight. Sit back and relax because it's time for the ISAC's U-Talk interview. Seriously, who thinks of these names?
So with me today is the king of the streets, Ruffneck himself. You may know him as Ruffneck, I know him as Keith Colwell. Keith, thank you very much for joining me today on the ISAC's Wrestling Podcast. How are you doing?
I'm champion, mate. I mean, I've just come back off a big weekend from WAW, and now I'm about to, after I finish this, get my bags packed and ready to go to Liverpool to do TNT.
Of course, I mean, for anybody that's going to be listening to this podcast will come out after the TNT show. The TNT show is taking place at the O2 tonight in Liverpool. Obviously, I'm talking to Keith on Thursday, the 18th. And last weekend, you were saying you're down at WAW. I saw all of that going on online. Obviously, they had down there Scott Hall and Rey Mysterio, just to name a couple of the huge names that Ricky Knight's got down continuously for WAW. Obviously, as well as TNT, obviously you've worked for BWP this year and last year. There's a couple of other promotions that you work for fairly frequently now, but WAW is your home promotion, right?
I'll go as far as to say that, yeah.
I mean, am I right in saying that you're a former WAW heavyweight champion as well?
I won the WAW British Heavyweight title last year, but like, to be honest with you, it was just more of that's the best way of putting it. It was a prop to push the storyline, really. I mean, at my age now, my job's to give back and put guys over,
Absolutely. And am I right in saying, I mean, from the things that I see, obviously WAW are on Mustard TV. They don't put a lot of their actual video footage from the shows out there online for free, like a lot of promotions do. And I can completely understand why they don't. But tell me, who have you been working with predominantly over the past 12 months with WAW? Have you been working with some of their younger trainees and trying to get them over on the shows?
Well, guys like, for example, Brad Slayer, who's part of Special Edition with Kip Sabian. He's had a singles run, and he was the British Heavyweight champion. And he's like he says, he's really good. Technically in the ring, everything. But I don't think he'd ever been in something that had pushed his character and showed something a little bit more than what I had to bring something else in him, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
What nobody had ever seen before. And I think we did that successfully, to be honest with you. I mean, I won the British heavyweight title, and like I said, I won it under nefarious circumstances. I mean, Brad does this bump in the ring where it looks like it lands on his neck. So what we did was that we did a high back body drop in the match, and it was something that people weren't expecting. They just thought it was just going to be a generic high back body drop, but he does this move to perfection. It looks like it lands on his head, like lands on the back of his neck, and basically how it went was I insisted that the referee counted to 10 because he couldn't get up. So I won it on a technical, I guess you'd call it a technical knockout, really. So like it was a cheap win, you know what I mean? But it just added to my heel heat. And then on the rematch, he had to show that he could go the extra yard and do whatever it took in order to beat me, you know. And he regained that title. Once he did that, he went on to win. He showed a different side of him, I think. And then, like I said, he was always good, don't get me wrong, but he just showed a little bit more, something that you'd expect from a wrestling character for TV, you know. Told a little bit of a story. And then he went on to win the World Heavyweight title from that point on.
I mean, your character is a great character for that kind of, helping develop the younger or the less experienced workers out there. I mean, that's how we use you over at Britannia Wrestling Promotions as well, to help push other characters, to help push the storyline. As you said, you're not a young pup anymore. You've been in this business quite a few years now. Yeah, was it 2003 that you broke out?
Well, I originally started training in 1999, 2000 in Canada, but what happened then was I had 2 reconstructive surgeries on my knees, and that kept me out of the game, and then I come back and wrestled from about, I think it was about 2002, 2003, yeah.
So you've been in the business quite a while. And obviously, for anybody that's followed your character over the years, I mean, you're a big bloke, you're a powerful guy, and you have kind of adapted your character over the years. You've changed and tweaked your character. And your latest character that you've been using now for, about 2 years, with, the King of the Streets, where you're just an absolute arse kicker, you're a menace in the ring, an absolute powerhouse, and you come out and your face is all cut up and covered in plasters, and you seem to have gained massive momentum over the past, certainly over the past 12 months to 2 years, under this new gimmick that you're using, which isn't massively different from the gimmick you used to use. I think you just turned the volume up a little bit, and people love it. People just absolutely love your gimmick.
I think it's I tweaked and refined it. I'll be honest with you, I was in a bit of a, I would say a bit of a slump, and I went, why don't I just change things around a bit and reinvent myself slightly? And once I've done that, it's just, like you said, it's just gone from strength to strength, I did, believe it or not, it was Chris Travis who helped me with the idea. I ran the idea past him. He was like, Jesus Christ, Steve, that's fucking awesome. What a great idea. And from then on, I just ran with it, and like he says, it's gathered momentum, and it seems to get over. And ultimately, that's all I want. I just want to show something a little bit different. I mean, I'm realistic with my expectations in wrestling. Look, I'm past the. You're never going to. I'll be honest with you. I know where my place is on the card, and I know what kind of match you're going to get from me. You're never going to get a 5-star class out of me, but you're going to get something different, and you'll get something that's character driven, and it'll be something where the fans can get behind, because there'll be a level of believability in it that sometimes is lacking in shows. Sometimes, when I walk down that ring, I think people think, Jesus Christ, he's going to do some damage. And if I can do that and make people just believe, even if it's just for a split second, then I've done my job right,
Yeah, you're damn right, yeah. And you're quite right. I mean, especially the way that British wrestling has been going over recent years, and obviously it's at an absolute peak at the moment. I don't think it's at the ultimate peak, but it's certainly peaking. As there's quite a lot of samey stuff out there. It's brilliant stuff, don't get me wrong, but there's quite a lot of workers that are working the same sort of strong style, I suppose it's been dubbed. And when you walk out there, you do offer something completely different to the fan base. And something that's quite refreshing to see as well is that you don't take yourself too seriously. And as soon as as soon as your music hits and you step through that curtain onto the stage or the entranceway, you can tell that you're loving being there and you're having fun doing what you do. And it doesn't matter who you're working against, it doesn't matter whether win, lose or draw. You're there to do a job, and you're doing it right, and you're having fun doing it as well, and you can see that.
Yeah, I mean that's the most important thing. I mean, like I said, like wrestling, that it is peaking, and like I hope we have this ongoing success. I mean, who would have thought when I started that, you know, wrestling, the primary product back then was probably like NWA Hammerlock, like FWA, right? And to see where it's gone from there to where it is now is absolutely phenomenal. So ultimately, what I'm saying is that, like I said, I don't think we get paid nowhere near enough for us not to enjoy it. So you might as well have fun while you're doing it, right?
Absolutely, yeah. I couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree. And that's from a promoter's point of view as well. I mean, I understand as a promoter that I wish that we were making so much money where we could pay all the wrestlers more, closer to what they're actually worth, if not more than. But we can't always do that, and not all promoters are able to do that at this moment in time. That will hopefully change over time. But like you said, it's so important for you to go out there and think, you know what, you're putting your body on your line. Okay, admittedly, you have had a few medical issues over the years. Like you said about your knees after you started training in Canada, up until most recently, and I know you still struggle with it a little bit with your shoulder surgeries and what have you. So you're going out there not to, certainly not about the money, and you are putting your body on the line. But go out there and have fun and let everybody see that you're having fun. And I think that's why over the last couple of years, as you've not only reinvented your character, Keith, you've also reinvented yourself. I mean, you're very, very open on social media about your personal life as well as your professional life and some of the issues you've had on both. And you've made a conscious effort to go out there and change yourself as a person. And I think people can see that in general, in life, you seem to be in a lot better place and a much happier place. And obviously that transforms over into your character as well.
Yeah, I mean, like it says, I think fun's infectious. So if the fans know that you're out there and you're having fun, that infectious behaviour is reflective in the fans. So if they know that you're having fun, they'll have fun, and then it'll just it'll gravitate towards them. I mean, like it says, like when I had me issues with when I went hit that dark patch with Flutter and that, I was in major depression. I was in the process of being divorced, and nobody knows these things, and nobody knows why you're being the way that you are. And to be honest with you, I was lashing out at everybody. And if I was in a real bad place, but nobody cared about that. You know what I mean? They only saw what I put out there. You know. And like it says, I turned a corner with that, and you know, you know, once I got my divorce out of the way and got the depression out of the way, you know, I think I've gone from strength to strength, and like I said, I think it's been reflective in how I look, how I behave, how I, you know, how my characters come over in wrestling. Like I said, the only thing is like I said, I won't change in the fact that I always wear my heart on my sleeve, and sometimes, you know, I used to get told, "Oh, Keith, you're not playing the game." Well, you know, but you're probably right, but I can't change who I am to a certain degree as well. You know, if I see bullshit, I call it, and I know, like, I mean, ultimately, wrestling's based on the premise of a lie, so a lot of people don't like the truth. You know.
Yeah. I couldn't put that better myself.
Having said that, you know, if I have done wrong, if I've said something that would turn, I'll always stick my hands up and say, yeah, you're right, I was out of order. But what I would say in my defence is I might not always be, the answer that you get from me might not always be the right one, but it'll always be an honest one, you know.
Just touching on that a little bit, I mean, it's been well documented, and I do agree with you that you do hold your hands up. There's been times, particularly on social media, because obviously everyone's life is as wide open as you allow it to be on social media, where you had a bit of a rant from time to time, and there's been times when I sat back and I've seen what you've been putting, and I've been following the thread, the conversation, and sometimes I agree with you, sometimes I don't agree with you. Sometimes I have no opinion at all. But something I will say to about you, as you said quite rightly then, you will hold your hands up. And if you feel that you're absolutely right, you'll say that you're absolutely right. And now what I'm ultimately talking about was obviously the big fallout that was all put online with you and Stephen Flood from Preston City Wrestling a number of years, it must have been about, 4 or 5 years ago now? With the big fallout where the mob, yourself and your long-term tag team partner Keith Myers, were scheduled to be in a match against the Steiner brothers in Preston, and you were speaking to somebody that you felt that you could trust about, the direction of the match was going to go in, and that news got back to Stephen Flood, and then it all went public. Everybody knew exactly what was going on, and as you said, that was during your dark patch of your life. But you went out there, and I remember seeing. At first, you were very angry that the person that you trusted kind of stabbed you in the back. You were angry that you'd lost the match. You were angry that Stephen Flood was talking shit about you online. But then it seemed you did turn that corner, and you're like, you know what? I fucked up. There's nothing I can do about what I've done, but I'm going to try and make sure that it never happens again. And I remember seeing those, it took words to those effects. And I remember seeing that and thinking, fair play to this guy. He is putting his hands up. He is saying that he's fucked up. And let's be honest, Keith. You didn't just fuck it up for yourself there, you fucked it up for a good friend of yours as well, your long-term partner, Keith Myers, who also lost out on the opportunity to meet the Steiner brothers, which I know Keith, I've known for 20 years now, and I know he was really looking forward to that match, and I know that impacted your friendship with Keith Myers for quite some time. How was that really for you? That whole saga of felt like you're being let down by the person you trusted, to being dropped from PCW on a public platform, to losing one of your closest friends, Keith Meyer. How was that all for you at the time, Keith?
Like I said, I was going through a really dark patch at the time anyway, so it was just like, I don't know, it was the fucking bit of cherry on top of a shit fucking sandwich, I guess, you know what I mean? It was, I was like, well, fuck it, and I was in a really fucking bad way, mentally and emotionally on at that point anyway. But what happened was this: I went to PCW. I never take holidays for wrestling. Never ever take holidays for wrestling. Because I was married at the time, and I've got my son with me, and he lives with me. He's been living with me since 2009. So when I was at work at the time, my time for my family. There wasn't prepared to take any holidays for nobody. I don't care what it were. For wrestling anyway. For me, wrestling's a pastime that pays a wage, especially at that point. And what happened was, Stephen asked us to take some, after I would get a half year, and we were going to do this Ruffneck gimmick, for the Rumble and all that. And I was like, yeah, cool, all right. I don't normally do it, but I'll do it. And then we did so I was supposed to be doing like some backstage skit, which we did. And then what happened was we were supposed to be doing something for during the interval. This is for Biggie, which is showcasing that crazy gimmick, And then what happened was Lionheart had been on Big Brother. So what happened was I went up to Richard Parker and I went, I've got a couple of ideas for the interval. And I went, he went, what are you talking about, Pete? I went, well, me and you were doing something at the interval for to showcase El Ruffneck and to do the PCW Rumble. He went, I'm doing something with Lionheart, I don't know nothing about that. So that's the thing that got me back up. The fact that I had to hear it from him rather than Fludder. Fludder could have told me the moment I walked through the door, he could have told me beforehand. And he didn't. And every time I went to approach him, he kept fucking up. And I was like, alright, okay. And then I did speak to him, but I went, I'm going home. So I fucked up and went home. And I was kind of pissed off. And this guy online turned around to me and says, oh, Keith, you look really pissed off. And he's one of Flutter's friends, and he wasn't a wrestling fan. He was one of Flutter's friends. So I just assumed that he knew everything that was going on during the shows and stuff, And I spoke to him, and I just fucking says, "Oh, I'm just fucking not happy about this, that, and the other." I said, "This is what I said. I said, if he's how can I trust a guy who says he was going to potentially put the tag titles on us when he can't even tell me what's going on during the match, during the show, and not be upfront and honest with me?" That's what I said. I said, and without using that word, I said, "I personally think it's a see you next Tuesday this trip, right?" And then what happened was, a couple of weeks later, this guy went back and reported that back to him, and then that's when it all kicked off. But like I said, I thought he knew. I genuinely did. Thought like he was one of Fludder's friends. He used to hang around Fludder like a fly around shit, and I thought, well, he'd know about it anyway, you know. So it was made out to sound like he was a fan, just some fan, some random fan that I'd been speaking to. Couldn't be further from the truth. But like you said, I shouldn't have assumed that he knew everything that was going on at the same time, you know. But I did, and then that's when it all escalated and it got made public and went absolutely crazy, you know. I know for a fact I got blacklisted from places, you know. So I just had to lay low until the dust settled, and then it was what it was, you know. Like I said, I used to consider Stephen a good friend at the time, but like I said, I was understandably upset about what had happened, you know. A, I took time off for I took holidays. B, I wasn't when I got there. I wasn't doing what I was supposed to be doing. C, I wasn't told from Stephen, and he didn't tell me, and that was the thing that pissed me off. And that's when I ended up storming off and speaking to that guy, who incidentally isn't a friend of Stephen Flooders anymore. So.
I mean, I think one thing is, I mean, I don't know Fludder that well. I've met the guy a handful of times. I've spoke to him a couple of times. We've done a bit of business together, you know, with imports and what have you. Don't really have that stronger opinion on him. I don't necessarily like the guy, but I don't really dislike the guy either. But one thing that is apparent, that he does not take criticism in any form, in any way. He doesn't take it very well. I've seen other wrestling fans and even wrestlers, you know, some pretty high-profile British wrestlers who have made certain comments about Steve Fludder or his product, and the comments have been immediately removed from whichever social media platform they were put on, and those people have been blocked from accessing the PCW page or the Stephen Fludder page. He's notoriously known for, he doesn't like, he likes to throw a lot out there, and he does very, very often, even to this day, which we will get on to something else that went on fairly recently, but he doesn't like to get it back. So yeah, I understand that, you know, you were angry. He perhaps didn't go about business as professionally as he should have done with regards to that whole angle of you. Yes, you know, perhaps you should have bit your tongue a little bit and taken a step back. But then for him to make it all public and to blacklist you as well, yeah, maybe a tad too far on his basis, because as I said before, it wasn't just about impacting the PCW show or that one particular match with the Steiner brothers, which was huge. I remember seeing it. I certainly remember Keith Myatt messaging me, because we do talk quite often, even these days, and saying how excited he was that he was getting this chance to wrestle one of the greatest tag teams in the world. And then obviously the rug was pulled under your feet with that one. And that I know that impacted your friendship with Keith as well. And you guys worked together in this, a tag team that on paper maybe should never have worked, the Mob. I mean, you and Keith Myatt, you know, the old fella Keith Myatt, but it did work. And what a fantastic gimmick that was, that got over wherever it was. We've used it at BWP, obviously PCW, it was red hot.
Yeah.
So everybody lost out. You lost out, your tag partner lost out, but ultimately the fans lost out on this. And
Absolutely, but like I said, what's done's done now. You just lace your boots up tight and get on with it. I mean, to be fair, the match with the Steiners, it was never ever going to be just us against the Steiners. I can tell you that categorically. There was going to be another two tag teams involved. It was going to be like a tornado tag type thing.
right.
It was never just the Mob versus the Steiners. That would never have happened. Fludder would never have allowed that.
Why not?
Like I said, he was pushing team single as well. And to be honest with you, when we wrestled at PCW, we wrestled at PCW, but we weren't there all the time, and we were going through a phase there where we were probably getting used a little bit less because we wanted to bring other people in.
Right.
But we did get. He did tell me. I said, look, I said, here's what we should do. I said, what we should do is put the straps on us, and then on the same day drop them. I said, drop them to team single or something like that. I said, because we shouldn't be. The whole thing shouldn't be about us holding the titles. It should be like a proper I've been watching Rocky Balboa, and it was like a baptism under fire type thing, you know, like the old guys who should never ever have the chance to get these opportunities and get that one last shot and eventually getting it. So the juice was in the story, you know. It was the everything leading up to the match that was the integral part, not the actual winning. I said, so what you should do is, it says we should drop them straight away. And I think that was, I'll be honest with you, I think that was on the cards at one point. But let me tell you one thing about Stephen Flood. I know he's got his critics and stuff, but and I'm not like I said, I'm not one of his biggest fans, but I'll always be honest. And I think at one point he was one hell of a promoter. If there was a blueprint to follow at that time, that everybody should have been following his blueprint out how to promote. I don't think he's a good booker by any stretch of the imagination, because I think there's a lot of throwaway matches in there that have no rhyme or reason. And I think, like you said, his model was based around the principle of having imports on there. But the problem that he's got now is that obviously you've got companies like What Culture who are doing it on a much grander scale. And now he's relying on the British guys, the ones who were maybe he's playing second fiddle to the imports prior to that. So, like I said, I'll let Fludder do what he's doing. If he's happy promoting, then promote. Do whatever you got to do to make yourself happy. But I don't think he is. I don't think he is happy. The wrestling PCW became a business, and the moment it became a business, it stopped becoming fun for him. I think, you know. Like I said, I might be wrong in saying that.
I mean, as we said before, you know, the British wrestling industry, it's changed, and the calibre of workers that are out there at the moment is absolutely amazing. But people still love to see imports, of course they do. It's a novelty act. Even WAW use imports, right? But their main primary focus is the British talent, and it always has been. WAW got the longest running training school in Europe, and they've always thrived and prided themselves on making their own talent that they can then, when they were ready, they'd use on their own product, and then they would send out elsewhere to get more and more experience elsewhere. And that's what they've always done. That's what they continue to do now. There's always a place for imports. But the thing with PCW that used to kind of bother me a little bit, yeah, as a business, as you said, as a promotion, as a business, great. It was really, really good. But he had so much emphasis on, and a lot of the time they weren't relevant imports. A lot of the time I'd see he'd have the $1 Million Man over or Vader, or so a lot of the old timers, as if he was booking them to mark out for himself that they were the guys that he used to love when he was a kid, just like I did as well. And great shows, but then I used to always think, and I would be very open about this as well, that eventually that's going to run dry. And what's he going to do after that? And I used to always see fans calling out, well, what about the British talents? Why don't you get British lads on there? And he used to say, well, there are British lads on there, but you're burying them with these imports that are no longer relevant, which isn't always the case. You know, I've seen some 5-star matches at PCW. But just moving on a little bit, Keith, I mean, you obviously did make up with Fludder after this. Yeah, it was very bitter, but you did make up, because you did make a brief return to PCW, right? Was it for one of their rumbles?
Yeah, but it was. I only did it solely for the purpose of Trav, you know. Like it says, Chris Travis is always a good friend of mine, and like I wasn't like I wouldn't say I was like super tight with them, as in the way the Gero is, or Juice was, or Joey was, or Danny was. But we had our own thing, you know.
Yeah.
Like it says, he was one of the few people I would contact on the phone, like outside of the realm, within the realm of pro wrestling, and and we would talk often on the phone and shit, and just see how things were going. You know what I mean? And there's very few people I would do that for. So, like I said, and every time we saw each other, we were always tight with each other and stuff, you know. But it wasn't. But like I said, I wasn't wrestling as much as what Juice and all them guys were. And them guys were so tight with each other, them and Kirby and all them guys, you know. But I had my own thing with Trav. You know what I mean?
I hear that more and more about Trav. I mean, Trav worked for me a couple of times. We spoke a couple of times, and that's it. So obviously when Trav passed away, that's why I didn't really push it online. I put the graphic up like everybody else did. We did a bit of a nod at the show that immediately followed Trav's untimely death. But all I hear from people is not only was he a fantastic talent in the ring, he was a fantastic person in general, but he was always there to talk to people, whether you were just a fan that he's met for the first time or somebody he's worked with for the 10 years. He always made time for people, and he did come across as being a genuinely nice guy. And he did have that little connection, and it's nice to see that those lads still wear the black armbands with KT on there, and it's always going to be a nice nod. Bubblegum was at our last show in Liverpool last month, and he came down with the Trav t-shirt, put it on the mat, kind of kissed the t-shirt, and then put it in the corner, and he does that religiously before every one of his matches. And I think it's just really nice that Trav will forever be remembered through that close circle of friends, and from guys like yourself. I know you've always got your pink and black Trav t-shirt to hand. You've worn it at BWP before, so yeah, you had a friendship nonetheless, and it was nice that he helped you and you were able to help him as well. But again, moving on from that again. So when you went back, when you returned to TNT, obviously because of your connection, your friendship with Chris Travis, what was the reaction like from the fans and from the boys backstage as well? What was their reaction to Keith Colwell being back at PCW?
I think, like I said, it was a show where everybody was there for Trav rather than worrying about what I was doing. You know what I mean? So it was, it was good. It was good to be back. But I'll be honest with you, I found that the crowd had changed a bit since I'd been there the last time.
Okay.
Ever so slightly. I think we've become a lot. I don't know. I think there's been an influx of new fans that had come in, and to be honest with you, I didn't feel like there was a lot of the old fans that were there. Maybe they got tired of the product as well. I don't know. I genuinely don't know. But I think a lot of the old fans went there for Trav as well. But there was a lot of fans that I'd never come across. But like I said, it was received. It was fun. It was what it was. I wasn't expecting anything over elaborate stuff. But it was nice to just put it to bed, you know.
Was there any conversation between yourself and Steve Fludder about anything after the Rumble, about you doing any more work with PCW?
No.
Nothing at all, no? It was strictly a one-off from the start?
Yeah, and I'll be honest with you, I don't think it would have been, I wouldn't have wanted to have gone back, to be honest with you. Like I said, before that show, I would have said, I'd entertained the idea. I don't know whether he would have. He might just. I don't think he would have, to be honest with you. But I would have entertained the idea. But after wrestling in front of that crowd, it just didn't seem the same, you know. So I'd have been happy to just to put it to bed there and then, to be honest with you.
But you and Steve, you rebuilt bridges on a personal basis, I take it, for that Rumble return to even happen, even though it wasn't in the name of Trav, for you to even be invited back. I take it that bridges were rebuilt again between you two guys.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Okay, so which then leads us up to the next thing that I remember sitting at home it was the relaunch of the TNT brand over in Liverpool at the O2. And somebody had posted a video up, and social media was going crazy, about a promo that you cut in the ring, a shoot that you did in the ring after your match there, and you focused it towards Stephen Fludder, and you had some very choice words for him regarding the Chris Travis Memorial Tournament, was it? And Fludder made some quite insensitive comments regarding the proceeds of the show and the fact that they weren't going to go to the Cavendish Cancer, which was Trav's chosen charity. Obviously, I understand why, because you've explained you and Trav are good friends, and you had a little bit of history with Flood, so you kind of knew how he could be. And in hindsight, do you regret cutting that promo, Keith?
When I saw that he said, I believe I've earned the right is the thing that got my back up. Now, he might have what you call it. He might have not meant it the way that he said it, but I didn't see it that way. Nobody else saw it that way. All right. It's not the first time he's wrote insensitive comments about Trav either. He wrote one about when the fans had had used some of his like couple of seconds of footage on tribute videos to Trav. And I just kept thinking to myself, worst case scenario, if these videos go out, the worst thing that could possibly happen, because the highlight how awesome Trav was that, and as mercenary as it sounds, I know how wrestling is, worst case scenario, the worst thing that could have happened was people would have saw that PCW emblem and said, I want to watch that.
Of course, yeah.
And he wrote an insensitive comment then, and that pissed me off, something rotten. And then there was and then, like I said, he wrote, I believe we've earned the right. No, you haven't. You haven't earned the right to shit. And that's the thing that really pissed me off. And I had to say I felt like I had to say what I had to say. Now, some people will run up the brother's ass like a rat up a drain pipe, and that's fine. Go do what you've got to do. Whatever makes you happy, go do it. I don't care. My life will keep turning, but the wheels keep turning in my life. It makes no difference. But that comment when he said we've earned the right to use Trav's name however he saw fit, and pissed me off to my rotten. If I had my own way, if I'd have been Fludder, what I would have done was I would have kept the name of the show exactly the way it was, and all I would have said was, this is all for the Chris Travis Memorial Trophy. But it didn't come across that way, did it? Let's be honest. It looked like he was using Trav's name as a way to generate revenue for himself.
That's certainly the way it looks. I must say, a lot of people then saying, you shouldn't be having the tournament in Chris Travis's name, unless you're going to donate charity. A lot of people do this. I do it every year at Britannia Wrestling Promotions. We have the Al Bandito Memorial Tournament, which is homage to my old promoter, mentor, trainer, Welsh wrestling icon and legend, Orig Williams. And not that I'm aware that Orig ever had a chosen charity, but we don't donate that, but we don't hold this show to make money off the name Al Bandito. It's literally a tournament where all 8 guys get involved in one night, and it's a nod. It's to me, if we didn't hold this tournament every year in Denbigh, every February in Denbigh in North Wales, the kids, the new generation of fans would have no idea who Al Bandito is. And because of our shows and because of the highlight packages of Orig that we throw out there leading up to the show and on the night of the show, we're educating these kids that, before you were born, wrestling was still relevant in Britain, and more so, it was relevant in Wales because of this guy. And if it wasn't for him, there'd be no Steve Saxon. If there wasn't Steve Saxon, there'd be no BWP, and we wouldn't be having wrestling shows in your town every month. And that's the way I see it. So I can't really hold that against Stephen Fludder. A lot of people do it, and I think it's a nice nod. But like I said, that wasn't the concern there. The concern was his wording, which was quite insulting, really, saying that I've raised enough money for Trav's charity over the years, so therefore I've earned the right to use his name. It was just, he didn't really think that status out very well. And a few people did say to me, after people that know him better than I know him, that's just the way Steve is. He wouldn't have come across, in his head, it wouldn't have come across that way. But when he's put a pen to paper, if you like, and it's out there on a public platform, it's come across completely different. And he did himself no favours at all.
Well, what I would suggest to further move forward, maybe you should get a publicist to vet your stuff. You know what I mean?
Because the problem is now he's got that stigma against him now. I know people were talking, let's boycott PCW, and that's followed shortly by a couple of PCW shows being cancelled. And I've seen comments saying, well, this is obviously stemming from the Trav thing. I don't necessarily think that's true. Things happen. Shows get cancelled from time to time. Recently, I've had to cancel a couple of shows for different reasons. It happens. Actually, this week alone, there's something like 3 or 4 British wrestling shows have been cancelled within a matter of days. It just happens. So I don't think there's anything good. I don't think people are going to boycott the PCW brand. But he certainly hasn't helped himself. And I think now, if he throws anything out there, it's just deemed a little bit insensitive for whatever reason, bad wording or whatever. people are going to jump on it more so now than ever before. So he's done himself no favour. So maybe you're quite right. He needs to get maybe a PR team in there that'll do that work for him and think out what they're going to say in advance and make sure they're not going to be offending anybody.
I've got no ill will, and I even said this, but I heard this was quite convenient. This when I cut that shoot there, right? I said I have got no problem, and this is the God's honest truth, because I can get the video footage for you. I have got no problem with PCW. I have got no problem with the boys working for PCW. Everybody's entitled to earn and showcase what they can do wherever they want to do it. But I said, this is directed at Stephen Fludder and Stephen Fludder only, but that was conveniently not recorded by the person who started videoing it whenever they started videoing it. Okay, so I want to make that clear.
Well, you did back that up. I've seen that comment. To be honest with you, I thought I did see it on the video, but obviously not. But you must have gone straight online after that and put that out there. That look, this is not against PCW. It's not against the fans. It's not against the boys. This is directly aimed at Stephen Fludder. So I've seen that out there anyway, Keith. So I don't think anybody would say any differently to that.
But here's the thing. I know for a fact that Stephen at the time was, because it went online within 20 minutes of me saying it. You know, I know for a fact that he was going around the boys, right? Saying, look what he's saying about you. Look what he's saying. Look
Really?
what he's saying. Making it sound like I had a problem with the boys at PCW, and it couldn't have been further from the truth. Couldn't have been further from the truth.
Did any of the boys speak to you about that? Any of the boys that were involved in the PCW show that night?
Well, I know like people like Rob, who's like one of my best mates, you know. He said that he was showing it to, I think it was like Spirit Squad or something, and something was said along the lines of he wouldn't say it in his face, and then Roy went, well, you know, it's not a problem. I can get Keith on the phone and I'll give him a ring now when he'll drive up. You know what he's like. He hasn't got a problem doing that. And then it was like, no. And I wouldn't have had a problem doing it. When he wrote that first insensitive comment, it took for my Heather, my fiance, to take car keys off me to stop me from driving up there and doing something stupid, you know, which was probably, with the benefit of hindsight, probably the best, wisest thing that's ever been done. But like I said, I have got no problem with PCW. I hope PCW thrives. I've got no problem with the boys working there. Go do your thing. If that's an opportunity where you can showcase your abilities and make yourself a bigger name and a better star and a better wrestler, go there, do it. I've got no doubt in my mind that Fludder will give you the necessary platform in order to make that work. But like I said, the problem I had was with Stephen Fludder and Stephen Fludder only. I mean, even Stephen, if you spoke to Stephen, now be the first one. Steve's got a massive ego. He's not the most humble of people, so you know. But you know, with regards to TNT and stuff, to be called an amateurish promotion by something that I think, from a booking standpoint, is by far superior to PCW. We've used British talent right from the get-go to our advantage, rather than have them in throwaway matches. Let's get one thing straight. We've done 2 shows in Liverpool. I don't think either of them have drawn over 150 people, and they've had Scott Hall on and Honky Tonk Man and everything. So I don't think you should worry too much about what I was saying, but more worry about how he's going to bring more fans in. You know, because you can't blame me for drawing 100 fans or 120 fans or 140 fans in that venue. That's not my fault. You know what I mean? No,
But one thing I will say though, Keith, and something that we kind of haven't mentioned here, is that ultimately, after the Chris Travis Memorial Tournament, money was donated to Cavendish. In fairness to Steve Fludder and all the guys at PCW, I know a few of the roster members after his initial tweet, decided to drop out the show. They refused to do it. Other guys continued to do the show but donated their wages to the charity. And I know that there was I think it was a raffle, or the percentage of the sales of the Chris Travis t-shirts was sent over to Cavendish as well. So ultimately, he did do the right thing. He did donate money, whatever that figure may be. He did donate it to Cavendish, and I'm sure at next year's tournament, he'll be very careful about what he's tweeting, and something more official will be lined up about making money for the charity. So, and a lot of people call him out saying that he only did it because of the public backlash. And, you know, that might be true, it might not be. It may have been the plan all along to give something to charity. He just never put it out there on the public platform. But it was one of those where, you know, damned if he does, damned if he doesn't. So, but yeah, hats off to Steve on that basis, that he did actually do the right thing in the end. It's just a shame that it took all that backlash before it got to that point. Anyway, Keith, right, I'm going to move on. Let's bring things up a little bit here. You've got so much going on. You've got WAW on Mustard TV. I've heard a few rumours that they are looking at maybe another TV deal. Not that I expect you to give anything away on that, but that's what I'm hearing. You've become a Hollywood movie star since the last time I saw you, Keith. Not seen you since January, and since then you're all like hanging out with The Rock, and you're in Hollywood and all sorts.
With regard to WAW, I know that they have got some major networks interested in it, and I think if you look at the production values of the shows that they have done, specifically last show, you couldn't. There's something not quite right if these guys don't get TV.
Production wise, in my opinion, as a British wrestling promoter myself, in my opinion, they're the best in Britain by far. By far, nobody comes close. What it reminds me of, like I said, because Ricky's quite protective over getting, putting free videos out there. But from what I do see on social media, it reminded me very much so of the World of Sport tapings without the bullshit ITV production. The studio format. I know it's done in the studio, but it's still done as a British wrestling show. And then the final product that we saw on ITV World of Sport on New Year's Eve last year, that's what I imagine the final product of WAW turns out to be, a little bit kind of NXT style, and it must cost them an absolute fortune, a substantial amount of money to put on that level of production with the screens and the banners and the lights and all the TV cameras. It must cost them an absolute bomb, but it looks amazing, and if somebody doesn't pick them up, then something's going wrong.
Yeah, I think, like I said, with the level of production, and more importantly, they've got people behind them who believe the same way as what Ricky, Julia, Zach, and Roy do. They have got the same vision. They believe in them. They believe in the product. They're not. WAW has been around for X amount, like 20 odd years now. They're never going to be indie darlings. You know what I mean? They're never going to be looked at as a progress promotion or something like that. But what they do is they give something for everybody. I think that person caters more to the mainstream than what something like Progress does. Progress has got its own fan base and they're doing phenomenal. But I think it's got a bigger potential. It's got a bigger outreach with the way the product's done.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, speaking for Nick Aldis a couple of weeks ago, obviously he's heavily involved in the World of Sport and the Impact Wrestling, and that's what ITV were looking for, was the family, audience. As you said, it's not your Progress Wrestling, it's not your ICW Wrestling, TNT Wrestling. It's his own niche that will draw in the family elements, the bigger elements, and that's what the bigger TV networks are looking for. So that's ultimately what WAWA are producing anyway. So it kind of makes sense that they inevitably end up on some sort of bigger TV network.
Yeah, they've got, like I said, it's absolutely phenomenal. Backstage, you've got agents for each. Like, you don't get this anywhere else. You've got an agent dedicated to your match, just like you have in WWE. It's you've got to have the right passes, the right pass credentials to get to certain areas of the place. It's just like everything backstage is run phenomenally. You don't even attack my word, but you speak to somebody like Scott Hall, who says exactly the same thing. He says he's never seen such a well-oiled machine in WAW since he left WWE. But yeah, so that's going really well. Like I said, they really got behind me and give me an opportunity to do what I do, and like I'm one of their top heels in that promotion. I do generate quite a bit of heat down there, and it's been working for it. It's been successful. But it was Ricky who gave me that platform and turned me heel, so it's all down to him. From the movie standpoint, like it says, I had a small part in the movie, it's not a major part. I've actually wrestled in the movie. But like I said, I don't know how it's going to get.
Do you play yourself in the movie?
I guess I do. Yeah, I play myself. Yeah. But I think we'll be. When you see the credits, it'll be wrestler number one.
Hey, that doesn't matter, mate. That could be your new gimmick. Next time you try and reinvent yourself, you can just call yourself, I was wrestling number 3, wasn't I? Straight out of Hollywood.
To be involved, like to get on with like people back, like Lena Headey from Game of Thrones. She was awesome. She was so cool. Nick Frost was so cool. Stephen Merchant was awesome. And it was a real eye opener, but it was a phenomenal opportunity. I think I got about 4 years worth of film in there, which was great, and I'd like to pursue it a little bit more. And I have had a couple of potential opportunities come forward with regards to acting, but that will be all determined when I move to America. So that was unreal. And like I says, I'm moving over to. I'm actually going over July, and I'll be over there for a minimum of 3 months. I'm back for the next time I'll be back wrestling will be the TV taping for September to Remember. It's WAW. In between that time, between July and September, I'm hoping my visa will actually come through. But like I said, as of July, as far as I'm concerned, my permanent residence will be in America.
That's amazing, absolutely amazing. I mean, I know we've spoke about it, and for what seems like a couple of years now that the plans are there, and there's always been something that's kind of a stumbling block in the way that has prevented it from happening as soon as you wanted to. But it's good that first of all, I think it's amazing. First of all, that you and Britain, Heather's over in, is it Las Vegas? She's from, yeah.
From Arizona, but we're moving a lot.
That's right, yeah, that's right. So she's all the way over in America, and you two keep this going, and she comes over here quite often, you go over there quite often, and you maintain this relationship, a long-term relationship, which I think that's fantastic. And ultimately, it's still happening. You're still going to be living in America. I take it that your son Jake, is it Jake? Jake, yes, it is. Is he moving over with you?
Oh yeah. Like I said, I've got short custody of Jake, so he's definitely coming over with me.
Is Jake 15 years old? Is he?
Now. Bloody terror.
Oh yeah, I can relate to that. I've got a 15-year-old as well, 15 going on 25 or something like that. Proper gobshite. Lovely lad, but the gobshite at the best of time at the moment. Well, he must be really looking forward to that and the opportunity to go and live in America.
Yeah, I mean, I've been asked a couple of times, am I going to be wrestling over there? And I'll be honest with you, unless the money's right, probably not. I'll always work for WAW. I've got a good relationship with WAW, and they says that they want me. I'm part of the family, and I do look at them like family. I look at Ricky and all them guys, Roy, Julia, Zach. They're like extended family to me, they've always looked after me. They're proper legends. But as far as wrestling's concerned over there, listen, I'm not going. If I'm living in Las Vegas and somebody wants me to wrestle in New York, unless the money's right, I'm not going to do it. You know what I mean? Well, I can't say too much, but I know there's something in that. I've got a friend of mine over there in LA, and Len. You remember Len? Len Davis? He used to own Real Quality Wrestling.
Oh right, yes, I do. Yeah, I do.
He helps the WAW show, and he says he couldn't elaborate at this point, but he says that there's a potential for something big happening over there. I don't know what that means, but he says would I be interested? I says as long as the money's right, I don't mind. I'll do anything, but the money's got to be right. It's got to be worth my while. And like it says, if the money is right and it is worth my while, but why not? But like I said, to do like a couple of shots for a couple of $100 here and there, like to travel the length and breadth of a country that vast just to get to do something like that. I love wrestling. I'll always love wrestling, but I don't love it enough to do something like that. No more. You know what I mean?
I completely understand. I mean, obviously America's much bigger than our country, little old Britain, and we can travel north to south, east to west in the same day here. So it's a little bit, and we still complain about that. Let's face it. If you're booked, I mean, how long does it take you to get from Manchester to Norwich?
Oh, if you're driving about 4.5 hours.
Yeah, even that for me, that'd be a massive ball, like 4.5 hours travelling. So imagine what it'd be like in America. So yeah, absolutely, the money's got to be on the table there. It's got to be the right sort of money. But listen, Keith, I'm going to wrap it up here. Before I do say goodbye, first of all, thank you very much. I really enjoyed talking to you today. I always enjoy talking to you, Keith. You certainly are an entertaining individual. Have you got any plugs? Anything you want to throw out there? Anything going on in your life that we haven't already discussed that you want to get out there on the public platform?
Check out TNT on Facebook. Like you say, I think it's one of British wrestling's unsung heroes. It's one of the it's doing really great at the moment, but it's always going to do better. The storylines, there's everything there for you, and like I said, it'll give you a hot back to the times of the Attitude Era. And if you like the Attitude Era, you'll love TNT. As far as WAW is concerned, go to wawuk.com. We've got September to Remember coming up, and that is, from what I've been told, is going to be even bigger than the last show that we did at the weekend. So if it's anything like that, it'll be off the charts. Obviously, is BWP as well. But I think I might have done my last show for you guys now, given the fact that I'm going away in July. I don't know, maybe we can sort something out in the future. But on a personal note, you can get me on Big Keith Colwell, at Big Keith Colwell on Twitter, Keith Ruffneck Colwell on Instagram, and just check out Ruffneck on Facebook too.
That's brilliant. I'll make sure I get all those links up there on the description of this on iTunes and on Spreaker. Once again, Keith, thank you very much. It's been very informative. It's been great talking to you, and I really do hope that we get to catch you up face to face before you do jet off to America in July. But if not, the absolute best of luck to you. You absolutely deserve it. Cheers, Keith.
Thank you, mate. Take care.
Well, there you have it. Keith Colwell, aka King of the Streets, Ruffneck. Having a lot of success at the moment down at WAW down in Norwich, over at TNT Wrestling in Liverpool. He works for a few other little smaller independent promotions, but they are his two main ones at the moment. Keith Colwell, you know, like I said, I've known Keith for a few years. We've had our own personal run-ins together where we fell out after doing a bit of business a few years ago over in Wrexham, North Wales. We've since made up. We're both going through kind of a bit of a shitty patch, both in a similar situation, I suppose, in the sense that we're both going through a divorce. We both took on our children. So I understand where he was coming from, understand where his head was probably at that time. But he's made a massive effort to get out there and make a change to himself personally and professionally. He's reinvented himself in the ring. He's reinvented himself outside of the ring. And he seems in a lot better place for it. He's always going to be a little bit controversial, of course. He's always going to be a little bit outspoken. He knows when to reel it in a little bit now. He knows what to put out there and what not to put out there. And occasionally, perhaps to other people, he may slip up and put something certain people may not like. Like this interview, for example, there's going to be certain people out there like, Keith, why are you dragging this stuff up, or why are you saying that? You could be affecting your bookings, because that's the sort of person that he is. He's got something on his chest. He wants to get it off his chest, whether he put it on his tweet or whether he put it on his Facebook profile or whether he comes onto the iSax podcast. He's going to do it. So I'm really glad that he chose to come on the show today. I'm really glad that I finally was able to catch up with him. I'm really glad that he after asking me to reschedule this or to cancel even this podcast, that he actually changed his mind. So I'll just get it out there. So check out Keith Colwell, Ruffneck on Twitter and on Facebook. Obviously, as you said, check out the WAW page and the TNT page. You can search them on Facebook, Twitter, all forms of social media, and of course the actual official websites as well. For me, that's it. I've got a couple more interviews lined up. I'm going to try and bang out at least one more before I head over to Spain on the 5th of June. Obviously, I've got a lot going on before then. On the next episode, on episode 8, I will let you know exactly what went down over at Preston and Frith Park, and hopefully have details on our future dates. At the moment, it's only one date that's booked in. We'll all see how it goes. Really looking forward to that. It's going to be a great weekend. It's going to be really sunny. It's bank holiday, so get out there and enjoy yourself. But before you do, please remember, it is so important to me. and the ISACS podcast in order to keep us carrying on producing these sort of interviews. I've got a few other things in the pipeline as well. It's just not going to be interviews or wrestling roundups, or I've got a few other things that I want to try out, and I've got a few special guests that I've got lined up. But in order for me to do that, whether it be on a weekly or a bi-weekly basis, whatever, I need you to go onto iTunes and or Spreaker, and I need you to hit the 5-star rating. I need you to leave a comment. You have no idea how important it is that you leave a comment, whether it be a short one or a long one, just a dot, a full stop, whatever, just leave a comment. Subscribe if you haven't done so already. I have a lot of listeners, a lot of people downloading, a lot of people streaming, but not many people actually subscribing. But I can see these stats, and I see that it's the same people coming back over and over again. So please, if you do listen to this, please do subscribe, please do rate, please do share on social media. Spread the word. So I hope you enjoyed this interview. I enjoyed finally catching up with Keith. And I will be back with episode 8 very, very soon. But for now, thank you. Good night.
You have been listening to the ISACS Wrestling Podcast. Follow Steve Saxon on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube at ISACS Podcast. And remember to subscribe and 5-star rate this podcast on iTunes. Ladies and gentlemen, Steve Saxon has left the building.